everyone. You're welcome to this webinar. Very good morning to our online participants. We want to welcome you. We apologize for the late starting. We've had some hiccups that have been fixed right now. I want to welcome you to this webinar on farm enterprise management. On farm record keeping under farm enterprise management. We're going to go through information and content that can enable us as staff of financial institutions be able to pass this information to our members, to our customers, so that they have good records and can make good decisions using the records, but also as financiers to their investments, it becomes easier for us to appraise them for loan facilities with the records as backup. So I really want to warmly welcome you for the training. The goal of this training, want that participants are guided to keep the necessary records and apply them to aid better decision making concerning their farms. And the specific objectives, we want to introduce the participants to the concept of farm record keeping. As you are aware, many people are doing farming, but the concept of record keeping has not been very well taken up. If you find a member, a customer with two enterprises, a farming enterprise and another enterprise, they may always have records for the other and not for the farming. So this is a simple guide through on how this concept can be introduced to your members and how they can start to go about it. We also do want to motivate the farmers to overcome mindset change, view and embrace farming as a business other than a way of life. They have to get motivated because we know that records, even in other aspects, is an aspect that is always lacking. But what will motivate them to keep the records? If we can show them how important the records can be, how they can apply the information in the records in their decision making. The information recorded in figures, how they can tell the story behind those figures. Then thirdly, we also want that sensitization and guidance to farmers is done on how farm records can be used to develop financial statements for better analysis, and also to guide them on how to use these financial records to make the appropriate decisions. But before we go into the content, we as trainers, we have to prepare. We have to prepare our customers, we have to prepare our trainees for the training, and the following two slides will tell us some of those things we need to take care of in terms of preparation and having a good training. Talking about creating a safe and a conducive environment for training. I know that we shall be reaching our customers, our members, in their various locations. But as a trainer, you need to have an atmosphere conducive for the training. It doesn't have to be in a formal training room like this, but wherever they have organized, you have to make sure it is safe for them to be able to partake the information you're giving them. You have also to ensure that you have all the materials that you will need. For instance, if you will need some stationery, please make sure you do have it. You can have a flip chart already written, because I know what is already running in our minds. Today we are using computer, we are using projector, which may not be applicable in the communities where we move. You can have this very information already written out on a flip chart so that it guides you through the discussion and any other materials that you may identify that you may need. So as part of preparation, you should have these ready. Then meeting them, we have to make them understand why the training. We have to make them accept the training by requesting their leader to introduce the members and requesting each member of the group to introduce themselves. And when they introduce themselves, let us begin to hear what exactly are they doing as farmers. What are they doing? Because we know there are different aspects of farming, livestock farming, it could be gardening. We need to get that information. And as a trainer, this will help you also give them and share with them appropriate examples. Then requesting the same leader of the group to conduct some welcome note. The leader of the group or any person that has mobilized the introduction, and in his introduction, he will be telling you more about these farmers, because I've realized farmers are completely different wherever you move. They are doing different things, different aspects. That is important. And then it goes without saying, you're greeting and welcoming them and making them feel at home even before you start giving the content, telling them who you are and the objective why the training is taking place. Because this is adult learning, and adults only learn when there is a reason for them to learn. Unlike children who come and partake on any topic awaiting the exam at the end. So they really want to understand the reason, will it benefit me? So it is important that that information is given. Then you can talk about the topic, you can state the goal, why you're there, and how it will help them. You can also tell them the duration of the training. For instance, if what you've prepared you feel will take 2 hours, mention it. For an adult, that is very good. It can make them relax and listen to you. Or if they are not sure how much time, there may be that sort of panicking and no concentration. So for example, today, I want us to take an hour discussing this topic. Then allow them as much as possible to be communicating to you as well. Do not just simply lecture them. Allow them to be communicating to you as well. Then observe time where possible, and also begin your delivery. This is very important. It is one way of showing them that what you're training, it is going to be an interaction. And the truth is, as you're talking to these farmers, they are more experienced in what they are doing than you. But your part is to show them how they can make the records. So we are saying, begin your delivery by soliciting a few expectations from them, and quickly you can write them down so that you can be able to harmonize these expectations. Should they expect that you're going to meet them, or some are beyond? So, you know, an adult really wants to be comfortable. They don't want to get surprised. So those past 2 slides are just part of your preparation for this team that you've brought for the training. Now, moving to the training content. So the content will have, we are going to see these 5 sections. What are farm records? And when you ask such a question, you will find members have different versions of a response to you, what they consider records. how important are the records, what are the categories of farm records that can be made for selected enterprises, and how to use these records to generate income, track expenses, and generate farm results. Because we know that the results are what you will base on to make the decisions. And members or people in the community are doing farming, they are getting yields, but being able to organize themselves to tell how much yield do I have? Do I have better results this season? Was it worse last season? Sometimes it is hearsay, but without keeping any records. So those are the 5 areas. As a trainer, you should know. And when you look at them, each one is feeding into the other. Yes, if I get to know what farm records are, what is the importance? Why should I keep the records? And it is coming first because people will concentrate more if they know how important it is to keep the records. As part of the introduction, we inform the participants that farming involves growing of crops and keeping of livestock, of animals. Because when you say farming, those in livestock may think you're talking about only those in what? In gardening. So farm record keeping refers to capturing, categorizing, and maintaining farm records and farm records and financial, farm production records and financial records. And you have to take note of capturing, categorizing, and maintaining, because you realize that some farmers may make a record for this season quickly, but when you come next season, I cannot find that book. I don't know where I put that book. So it is important for them to know, I have to capture, and in capturing, you emphasize the accuracy. Capture it accurately. Capture it in a timely manner. Then categorizing, now you're going into organizing it. Group it in a manner that when you refer to your records, you can easily get the information that you need. And then maintaining will enable you do a trend analysis, be able to compare one season from another. Then the records can be described as information relating to farm management. When we talk of records, people normally jump to the financial records I've recorded, but general information about the farm. As from the above statement, we talked about production records as well as financial records. It is a concept that is applicable to the entire farm operations, and there are 2 distinct types of records, of production and financial records. Now, going down to the production records, these are items that relate to the quantities of inputs and the levels of production. In other words, general information about the farm. We shall go into looking at the examples. For example, the size of the farm. Many farmers are farming using a certain piece of land, but when you ask them how big, they are not sure. Maybe 2 acres, it could be 3, but the way you know, these are not titled pieces of land. But it is important for you to know how big, because it feeds into other plants. The plant populations to know that in this piece of land, I can have maybe so many stems of matoke or so many seedlings of coffee. So the size is a very good example for production records. The crop yields, the plant population, if it is livestock, how many calves are on the farm, you know, and then the milk produced, the equipment you're using, and all inputs, etc. Maybe what I forgot to mention in the preparation, the issue of language is very, very important. We know that farmers in different parts of the country are using different local languages. So we need to be prepared. We need to be able to speak the local language so that the farmers can get it well. So as we are getting this content and we are going to pass it on to our customers, our members that are farmers, we should already envision ourselves delivering it in the local language. It is very easy. I've done it so many times in local languages, though here I cannot tell which language people are more comfortable with. Then the financial records, I said these relate primarily to money or the financial transactions on the farm. So the production, sales, the operating expenses, the purchases, as we are going to see them, creditors, debtors. Sometimes people only want to record the expenses and the income, and they are leaving out some other records that are very key. The debtors, who are your creditors, stock, the prices, very important. Because sometimes farmers do get big yield, but at the end of the day, not much profit. The challenge could be on prices, maybe that have gone low. It could be on the inputs, if they were very expensive. But if one is keeping their records and they are able to compare trends, it will be very easy for them to identify where the problem is and try to fix it in the coming seasons. There are different forms of keeping records. And we are saying that even before the writing, even before the computers, our great-grandfathers were keeping records in different ways, like tying knots on the rope, you know, to tell how many months are there in a year, to tell what seasons. So they were using rudimentary ways, but still it shows that record keeping is a tradition. It is the tradition that we can't run away from, and today we are better placed to be able to write. When you're addressing the farmers, the first reason they will give is that for us, we don't know how to write. For us, we didn't go to school. And I've been encouraging that every home these days has a school-going child, a grandchild, your own child. And the way we are going to see these records, the basics. And you can have a certain notebook for a particular child at home. Whenever you come home, ask me what we bought today. You can record that. Ask me what we sold today. So, but that will come. For us, we didn't go to school. And among the major reasons they always give is that they cannot write the records. So we can accomplish writing records today through several ways, which is, for example, basic hand record keeping, and also the elaborate computerized system. When you move on a village of farmers, if there is a big man with a farm, they will say those are the ones with records. Ebibya biteka mu computer. That is in Buganda here. But people should know that a record is a record, whether computerized or handwritten, they are both good. What is most important is how the data has been captured. Even if I have a computer, but I'm not very organized, I will still enter data that I cannot use later on. So you have to emphasize here that both are good. Whatever system is chosen, it should be easy to keep, and it should be able to provide the necessary information when you need it. So record keeping entails being organized, what we say, the categorizing, the capturing, and the maintaining of the data, so that you can find the facts when needed. And I think one reason why people may not want to refer to their records, they are not organized in that manner that I can easily look and make a decision. Yeah, I always find a funny example of people in the shops. Farmers do think that those that are operating other businesses have better records. But when you go to a local shop, you ask for records, they will tell you, I only have a small book here where I rate people who take on credit. But even when you look at the book, you will find that it is not organized. They are remembering when you took the items by maybe the ink color they used. I had a green pen that time. Let me, look for it. So it is important to take farming as a business, like any other business, and give it accurate records and careful financial management. And there are different forms through which you find that because of not having records, for instance, I go and buy inputs, beginning of season. Beginning of season, farmers normally buy seeds, they buy tools, and they don't record anywhere. They cannot even tell how much have I spent to buy this wheelbarrow, to buy this watering can, to buy this hoe, and they keep thinking it is very little money. And because of that, when they are using those tools on the farm, they follow up, they are not keen. So you find that the next season, they want to buy the tools again. Why? Because whoever used them maybe walked away with them, they were lost, they were stolen, and it adds to the expenses. So we have to think about those simple, basic examples that will appeal to the farmers, because every farmer buys a hoe, for example. And if it is a big plantation, a big garden, they can tell you, I bought 3 hoes last season. But as I speak now, I can only see 1. So next season, I have to buy again. But in the expenses ledger, that is an expense that you're repeating unnecessarily because you did not keep the records. Now, for the next part is now for you to show them how important records are. I always encourage that when it comes to importance of records, first solicit responses from them. Why is it important for you to keep records? And they will give you different reasons, different scenarios. For example, starting from us here, why would it be important that a farmer keeps records on their farm? Those that I have to go with this, and then they will add on. Yes? We have our mic here if you want to speak. Give grace. Yes.
My name is Manson, Passion Credit. Why I think farmers need.
Is it on?
Why I think farmers need records at the farm. One is to track the production, to monitor the expenses, the amount of money injected in producing certain quantities. Then also to look at, maybe you can even keep the record of the soil, for example. When you do like the soil testing, you can keep that record. Now, you can be advised by the agroeconomist which type of plant to put on that type of soil.
I request you to come again. You said the first one was to
The first one was to track production.
Okay.
Then to track expenses, that is on the input side. Then to track the market records, the technology they may need to use, whatever expert you bring on the farm, you have to keep the record. Maybe what advice did the person give, what the person needs you to do at the farm. Then you also need to keep record of the machines or the equipments that you have purchased and the type. Maybe you can even put the name, the trade names and the shops where you have bought them from. And you need also to track your debtors and creditors. That is what I can share on the part of the record keeping at the farm.
Thank you so much. Anything else, members? So he's saying we need the records to track production, okay, that we need the records to track the production, track the expenses on inputs and any other expenses, track the market records, technology that you're using for also expert advice, and recording of what type of machines you're using, if any, and then what are the sources of your inputs that you're using on the farm. So this kind of record. And when you look at the summary of what he has mentioned, you realize that there are production records that are mentioned in here, as well as financial records. For instance, if I'm recording where I'm buying my inputs, that is production record. That is information that may help anybody who may come around in my farm to have a beginning point. For instance, if I'm in livestock and I have my animals, who is my veterinary doctor? When did they last immunize my animals? That is important information that is normally missed out when farmers do not keep records. So in summary, we are saying that records are a source of information, like the land titles, where are you keeping them. There are many people that are farming and they don't know the status of the ownership of the land. This is surprising, but it is happening. You know, for me, I grew up here and we thought this was our thing, only to get so many surprises these days. Okay. Then aiding tracking of investments. We had not mentioned investments on the farm, which enables comparison. If I invested in so much this year, and this is my yield, what was my yield in the previous years? How much had I invested in? So that way you're motivating a farmer to think as a business person. As a business person, you want to spend less, but yield more and more. Then it is also a financial indicator, which can help us measure changes in the final farming business. Why has it changed? If I invested the same, and this is what I'm yielding. Actually, one thing we are going to emphasize to farmers is when you keep a record and you look at the record, it is not enough to say I'm making a profit. The most important question is why? Why have I made the profit? Where did I spend less? Which input did I use that boosted? You know, that why? I always tell people that you need to keep records, but I need to find you talking to your records. When you find time and you're looking at the records, trying to analyze them, you need to talk to them. Then it becomes your planner also for short and long-term planning. Past records can be used as a basis of projecting your cash flows. If I cultivated 1 acre and got so much, then what will be my income if I increase to 3, if I open to 3 acres? But because farmers do not have records, you may find someone has been dealing in a certain item for years on the same size of land, and there is no plan for growing bigger. Yet we know that the market grows bigger and bigger each passing day. It also aids external financiers, who are us, the financial institutions, to do our analysis and also to monitor progress. One reason why farming is tricky and why we have agricultural products, which are actually business products, is because of that kind of thing. A farmer comes, they're applying for a loan, they are telling you last season, I cultivated 5 acres of maize, but there is no evidence that they did that. They have no record whatsoever. And he can only say, you can ask people in this village, I've always done well. But we need these figures. So it aids us, the financials. And we are also saying that accurate record keeping provides information and the basis for preparing the financial statements. If farmers really want to speak to their records, if they want their records to have meaning, they can only prepare the final statements if they have been recording consistently. And then lastly, it is a service tool to meet the legal requirements, the income tax, the taxman. In farming, people have not much experienced the taxing bit, but today in the communities, when I ask people, have you seen taxmen here? They say yes, because they've been to the shops and all that. So you need to be organized. And some traders were telling me, but they just come, point at your enterprise, and they say, if you're in a boutique, pay so much income tax. And then the reason I gave was, because they know we don't have records, they cannot have a basis of calculating the income tax. But when you have your records that show that you're making profits or losses, the 30% is levied on the what? On the profit that you make. So that makes a lot of sense to the farmer. So you're better off having a record than having no record. Because you don't have a record, I assume you're making profits, I estimate the tax, and you pay the tax. And you have no evidence to tell me otherwise. So let's look at the examples of under each category. We have the production records and the financial records. Some of the examples in the production records, the size of the farm and the ownership, very key. The infrastructure on the farm, the crops planted, the number. I have a banana plantation with so many, because that speaks, that tells you someone is looking at farming as a business. The implements, the crop yields, seeds and varieties, the farm inputs, cost, quantity, quality of labor. Labor. When it comes to labor, there are normally no records on labor. But we know that on the farms, our farmers are employing different people. So the expense on labor always goes unrecorded. And after some time, they are just trying to estimate. I got people who did this. But if you are in a habit of recording, nothing will miss you. So in the cash, they may record how much they have paid. But now here on the production side, I need to know how many people, what kind are they, what is their level of education. Do you have professionals, or are you picking just workers? Then the efficiency of operations, that is such the example that can be on the production side. Then on the financial side, remember, it is always good that we first ask them, and they will tell you what they know. Many of these will be mentioned. The purchase ledger, sales ledger, general ledger, bank books and statements. This is where I always find very, very less what? Examples about the bank. Remember, we are motivating them to use the bank more and more consistently. Some of them are already your members, your customers. They are transacting, but they never think of picking a statement to see how transactions are moving. But also when they come and we give them a loan, they have loan agreements. That is a record. And a record that should go on file. But many times you find a customer, a loan has been approved, you've given the agreement, they may even forget the agreement in the office. Have you seen this before? I've seen that several times. So why? Because even if he takes it, he may even remember, I've forgotten it, but he has no specific place where he keeps it, so it gets lost and all that. So getting organized, so that you have a file. Where do you put your loan agreements? Because in future, you may want to refer to the file to know how much investment I picked this loan of so much, I was able to pay the loan, but to calculate how you're doing. Then the price information is also important, and the cash analysis book. So in terms of production records, financial records, they will give you so many other examples here, especially here. I have always known this, but it is important that it is recorded, because when you know it as you, it ends with you. I always ask them, if I'm in a community, do we have any farmer that has maybe died in the past? And they say, yeah, he was a strong man there, he was doing well. But when he died, all his riches went with him. And you ask them why. The children are lazy and all that. But sometimes the children have nowhere to start from. There is no record at all. They don't know where you're getting seedlings. They don't know where you're getting pesticides. It is just starting all over again. And when you mention that, everyone is like, okay, so we really need those what? Those records. Yeah. Categories of farm record, different enterprises. The other one was for farmer gardening. This one is for livestock. So when you go to livestock, you will find that on the side of the production, a few things may vary. You're talking about the milk production, you're talking about the animal health. Animal health, very important. Who is your veterinary doctor? Where are you getting these services? The drugs and treatment, the visits, the vaccination routines. Talking about vaccination, a lot of farmers gave me examples of where they come and vaccinate their animals. They are given those vaccination cards. But the next vaccination comes, the card is already misplaced, and he's busy reminding the veterinary doctor, but you remember what you did for me. Forgetting that this same man is working on so many other farms that cannot keep your information in his head. And everyone was like, oh, we need to keep them. Okay? So now that differs. But on the other side, you will find that the financial records remain the same. They remain the same. This is just an example of what those that are in livestock can give you. So then after that, it is taking a shorter time here, but with them, they really want to talk to you a lot. They will give a lot of examples. They will even go beyond the examples. I tried to keep my cards, but even when they came and used them, this happened. So you go into how do we use the records on the farm to track our expenses and the incomes, so that you're now able to take them into how do you make an income ledger? How do you make an expense ledger? So we are saying, depending on the size of the farmer will select the appropriate books of accounts to record on a daily basis the transactions on the farm. The common books of accounts employed, these are just the common books of accounts: an income ledger, an expense ledger, a stock book that records physical counting. Then receipt, payment vouchers, a book of debtors, a book of creditors, and a record of bank operations. That is very, very important. The record of bank operations. But equally important are all the others, because for you as a financial, if you had farmers that have records, the appraisal would be much, much easier, just like it is always for other enterprises that have records. So in terms of instructions for recording, it is always the date of the cash farm income and expense, as you may need to refer to it at some time later, the date. Because remember, this is basic. So you're telling a farmer that whenever you're recording something, you should always first write the date, because that information will not be very useful to you in the future if you cannot tell when you wrote the information. You could also record information initially using a pencil so that errors can be corrected as they are identified. They should be free. And then regularly, I say regularly because some may say, for me, in a week, I may sell only once, or I may buy inputs only once. So if it is regular, it means on a weekly basis you will record. But if it is a big farm where you're spending on a daily, do it daily. And it is always better to do it daily, because you're likely to forget some transactions. So we go into cash farm income. For example, it is important to remember to record the following: what was sold, the amount sold, and the total amount of sale in Uganda shillings. Something to look like this. We are recording cash farm income. Cash farm income. What are we saying? We need to know the date. We also need to know item sold. Then the amount sold. We need to know the quantity and the total sales. So something like this looks very simple, but also to the farmer, it may be an eye-opener. Date, item sold, amount sold, the quantity, and the total. So when it comes to the cash expense ledger, we are doing the same. We are saying date, but instead here we are saying item bought. What have you bought? Or purchased. Then amount. We are looking at the quantity. We are looking at the total. And to the farmers, if you emphasize that this can be done in any simple notebook, exercise book, it becomes easy. And you will see many of the farmers seriously taking this format in order for them to start doing the recording. So for the purchase ledger, the expense ledger, that is it. And this is the pictorial, the date, the item sold, the amount sold, the quantity should be there, and then the total in Uganda shillings. Let us take an example. For example, today is 26th, assuming on the morning of 26th, 2024. This example written is very important because you're showing them how practically they can do it. And whenever I'm doing it, I make them give me the examples that I put here. For instance, if that day you may have sold milk, and you're selling milk a liter at maybe 2,000, is it 2,000? And maybe you're selling 4 liters of milk, so the total there will be 8,000. But on the same day, 26th, 24, I may sell some matoke. Assuming matoke is 15,000. Remember, he's selling from the garden. It is 15,000, and I'm selling 4 batches of matoke. That will give me 60,000. Then you ask, what else are you likely to sell? I was in Masaka recently, and they were selling coffee. So I was asking, how are you selling the coffee? Yes, we sell the coffee, the one not yet dried. We sell gallon at, I'm forgetting the exact price. Was it 40,000? So they were saying they sell at 40,000, and they can sell, I don't know what to call it, a certain calabash that they were using, and maybe they have sold 2, so that becomes what? 80,000. So for that day, if you choose the 10 items, at the end of the day, you can make your total here, which is, I think, 148,000. So then you ask farmers, is there anyone who cannot do this? No, that is easy, we can do it. Muzukuru wange can do it for me. My son can do it for me. And then you also emphasize that when we say cash income ledger, do not think about those ledgers in the stationery shops that are sophisticated, because they will think it is expensive. Use an ordinary exercise book or a black book and be able to draw these lines. So then you can go to the same date, give the example. For example, on this day, 26th, I was asking, what have you spent on? And they said the number one thing here was labor. And they were charging per bawe, people who come and help them pick the coffee. Per bawe, it was 4,000. I don't remember. It was 4,000. Then, that was for the coffee. Then they said the milkman is paid monthly. And now how do I put the expense of the milkman whom I pay monthly? I said you can also divide it into 30 days and be able to record on a daily for each day. So in labor, let us assume that we have spent 20,000 on labor, and how many people have we paid the 20,000? Maybe there were 2 people, that becomes 40. Another expense they mentioned a lot was transport. Of course, after discussion, because many of them have motorcycles, they pick matoke to take to the market, but the expense of fuel is not catered for. Oh, so I can get daily expenses, but they had not thought of that to be an expense. So he said, I can use 1 liter. posted it 5,000. I don't know why, but it was 5,000. 5,000. Then you encourage them to think of any other expenses, and they may come up with a total here of 45,000. And then you tell them, so if you want to know how profitable that day was, you will get the income minus the expense. If you continue for a month, you will have a total of the 30 days income and then total of the 30 days expense, and you will be able to tell. And then when you look at these records, you will find that some are for livestock, some are for the plantation. You can be able to tell how much am I getting from my animals, how much am I getting from this other item. So there are many analyses that can be done using just this simple table. But people need to be guided on how do I use it to make the analysis. So if that is done, it is now end month, and we have recorded. You have recorded very well. How do we summarize our income and expenses? We are talking of total cash income from crops. Total cash income from crops, which you will state there. You can have the total cash income from livestock. Then that will give you the total. The total what? Total income. You want to determine your level of net cash flow. You're looking at the total expenses. So less expenses. So going back to our example here. So if we want to know total cash income from crops, we sold matoke and coffee. So our total was 68. Is it 68? No, 140. 140. Then the income from livestock was 8,000 because we sold the milk. And this is what came to 148,000. So less our expenses. And the expenses here were 45,000. 45,000. So our net cash income becomes 103,000, isn't it? 103,000. The ideal should have been that after spending on the inputs and then outputs, then these other expenses would have come here, but surely a farmer will forget them. So it is better they are recorded as they are spending. What do you think about this? Is it simple enough? You know, the problem with people is that the moment you bring in figures, now that is too much. That is what? Too much. I always challenge them that everyone knows how to count money. Everyone. I've not met any person who doesn't know how to count money, whether they've gone to school or not. And also the date. People always know the date. So just to know, it is very simple. There is no complication here. What you earned, what you spent, you know, you take simple subtraction. So then you go to talk about performance analysis. So basing on the performance of each crop and livestock, the farmer should be able to see whether the farm is profitable or not. And it is also easy to identify which crop and type of livestock yield is worth maintaining and multiplying for subsequent periods. So in these records, you realize that one says, me, my major business, I run a shop in the trading center. Digging, I do dig, but for my own what? Consumption, not much. But when they sit down and make these records and analyze, they realize that it is the farming that is even feeding the shop, maintaining the shop. When they record this income, they may realize that the income from the farm is even higher than the income from the shop, especially when they deduct expenses and they have a rough picture of the net income. So the emphasis here is to handle farming as a business as well and give it the necessary attention. So the next is talking about the net worth of the farm. What is the net worth of my farm today? What was it 2 years, 5 years ago? That one is also an area where farmers always get a bit of challenge. You find that someone is telling, if I want to buy your farm, how much would it go for? And they will tell you, when I bought this piece of land, I bought it at 3 million. I think today if one gave me 5, I will still be okay. But having no base, how are you guessing the net worth of your farm? And we are saying that to calculate this net worth, let the farmers compare 2 periods, the beginning and the end. They may choose the time when they acquired, they may choose the records they did some years ago, and then also today. And divide by 2 to get the average assets. We know that at 10-1 period on your enterprise, you have assets and you have liabilities. Please, as a trainer, go into details to explain what is assets, what is liabilities. And do the same for the liabilities, then subtract the average liabilities from the average asset of the 2 periods to estimate or to be able to tell the net worth of your farm. Now, in the example here, we do have assets. The upper part is assets, those things that belong to you. And then we have liabilities, those things, you may be using them, but they are not actually yours. So in terms of assets, we have land. One may record the cost of their land in the beginning period. Assuming I have land here. This is beginning. This is ending, the way we are seeing it there. Then I begin with my assets. So my first asset may be what? Land. Now, if you want to record this, and you know that your first asset is land, this record keeping will compel you to find out more about the land. Does it have a title? Where is it kept? Whose is it? Is it mine? Is it ancestral? You know, it compels you to get that more information. Let us assume maybe the piece of land you're using 5 years ago, maybe you bought it at, say, 5 million. Then, feeds and supplies that you may be having on the farm at that time, you record. Maybe these could be worth 200. These are just imaginary figures. I have no reason behind them. Maybe you have a farm building. Maybe you have what? A farm building, or at the beginning, you may not have a farm building, but at the end, you may construct a farm building. What cost? Maybe at a cost of 20 million. Then we are talking about household equipment. We are talking about a residential house. You may be having a residential house at your farm. This is something which belongs to you. Residential house, which may have cost you in the village. You're constructing a house. Should we say 30 million? Maybe? Maybe it is too much. Depends on where. Okay? But you're just giving them an example. So you record all those datas, because datas have your money. So if there is money in the pipeline to be paid to you, you record it. Maybe I have some 80 million in datas, and maybe other properties, including maybe savings and all that. So that is in the first year. And then those are the assets I've started with. Then liabilities. Because what happens today, when I look at someone's farm, you know, my farm is worth so much money. But not everything on the farm is theirs. And our most interesting part are the loans. They have loans. So at the beginning, I may be having a loan of, I don't know, maybe 4 million. I may be having creditors. Apart from the loan, I may have people that are giving me equipment, you know, in kind. You need to record that figure. Maybe it is around 800,000. Then interest owed. We pay loans with interest. Though when people take money, they keep saying, I got a loan of 20 million. But there is interest on top of that, which is substantial money. So when you put interest here, it helps you separate the two so that it comes out really well. Maybe you have interest of 1.2, just assuming 1.2 million. Okay. So we do get the total liabilities here will be 4,800,000, 4,900,000, and 5 million, 6 million. 6 million here. Then the total assets here are 5.2 plus 30, 35.2, 36 million. 36 million. Okay? So the net worth at the beginning is assets, net worth, assets less liabilities. So it is 36 million minus 6 million. So the net worth here is 30 million for the beginning. So you come to the end. So at the end, we have said this was 20 million. Didn't we say 20 million? 20 million. We have said you have constructed a farmhouse now, maybe a store to keep your, you come to land. At the beginning, your land was worth 5 million. This is now ending period. 2, 4, 5 years later. Will it still be 5 million? No. So let us assume the land has appreciated to how much? Maybe to 7 million. The feeds, when you were starting, the time when you were taking stock, you had feeds worth 200. We expect that maybe the farm has expanded, maybe you have more animals. Sorry? They may be more. They may have increased. The residential house, you constructed your house at 30 million. Some years later, it always generates a lot of argument. They say it remains the same. Maybe I've added.
There are two different things. What remains the same is when you're also factoring in the land cost.
The land cost. Yeah, because we are now looking at the structure. So assuming now it is like 28 instead. Then the debtors, they have increased because you're selling more. Maybe it is now like 1.2. So the total asset here, this is now 7.5, 27.5, 47, 30, 55, 56.2. 56.2 million. Then we come to the liabilities. When you're dealing with farmers, please get very, very simple figures here that you may not even get the 20 million, the 30 million, the 50 million, simple figures just for them to see how it goes. The loans, do you have bigger loans or you're now more independent? What can we assume here? You've paid it off, you have no loan. Okay. Creditors, maybe they are giving you more. They are supplying you more items, say 2 million here. And then the interest on the loan, well, it will be cleared because you cleared the loan. So which will make your total liability here 2 million. Yes. And then the net worth is now the 56 minus the 2 million, which will become 54.2. Okay? So, but what did we say? To calculate the net worth, add the beginning and ending assets and divide by 2. So 36 plus 56.2 will give you 92.2, isn't it? So 92.2 is now the total from beginning and ending. You want to get the average, you divide by 2, and this will give you 46.1. Is it? If I'm not mistaken. So this is average assets. Then for liability, we are doing the same. And how are we doing the same? We are adding the 6 million plus the 2 million. We divide by 2. So liability is the 6 million plus the 2 million. We divide by 2, so that average liability is 4 million. What did you do to our things? So we were saying that you do the same for liabilities. So what are we going to do to determine our net worth? We are subtracting the average asset, the average liability of 4 million minus the average what? Asset. So it becomes 46.1 minus 4 million. Minus 4 million, which leaves us at 42.1, isn't it? 42.1. Now, we assumed very big figures here, but the farmers themselves, that is why I said you get it from the farmers. We want to assume, they will tell you, they will even argue, land is 3 million here. No, you can't even get for 2 million. So you end up having realistic figures to show them how you can calculate your net worth. Any questions so far? Speak in the mic.
In the case you find that the net worth is negative, what would you advise the farmer?
In case you find that the net worth is negative, it means you're running your farm on resources that are not yours. And we know that when we go for appraisals, we really want to finance enterprises where the borrower has stake. 50% must be from his own sources, and then we are topping up. So that informs you a lot, even you, the financer. And it is unfortunate when we go to the shops and we are trying to establish people's assets and all that. Sometimes they lie to us. I have this, I have that, and we end up making wrong decisions. That is why we give sometimes loans that are not what? That are not paid. So this is very important, and I like that you asked that question. What if a farmer did this and we find that they are in negatives? It means double your efforts. A lot of what you have is not yours, and it may be a scenario that you're just working for other people. You're just working to stream back, to pay them and all that. But the records before that we've had, the ledgers, the income, the expense, will help you also get out of that. How do I spend less so that I earn more? How do I merge these so many creditors that I have so that I clear these loans? And it happens a lot when farmers, during the season, they want to plant, they will come and pick a loan from their financial institution. But they will also pick a loan from other sources, including from individuals. And at the end of the day, I have cultivated these 3 acres, but when they sit down to calculate their worth, you find that it may even go in what? In negatives. So it guides them to be more careful when dealing with their farming enterprise, when handling the finances, so that they benefit. At the beginning, you will actually, it is important that you ask people, are there some that are keeping records? You may get very few, if any. And then you ask, why are they not keeping records? Everywhere I've been, there has been a response. I used to keep records, but I realized I was making a lot of losses. I decided to stop because I was getting demoralized. So now it is you to tell them that now that you stopped recording, it doesn't mean that you're making profits. So you're better off with the records so that you can identify where the loopholes are, where you need to reduce expenses, where you need maybe, sometimes the challenges come at selling, the price. Everyone wants to sell at the same time. Maybe the price goes very low, you've put in so much. So that also informs you. You may have to maybe store a little bit so that you wait for the price to be better. So you make those decisions. There are those who say, I make sure I plant slightly earlier than the rest, so that when the yields are just coming, the price is good. It only goes low as more yields are coming. So you cannot have all those strategies if you don't have records, if you don't have reference to support you do that.
Another question.
Yes.
Is it important to record what has been consumed at the farm, or you only take interest of the surplus production?
Very good question. What do you think? You want to respond?
I think it's important. You see how much you have consumed, and you put it in records.
Yes, thank you so much. Because when you want to determine the yield, you want to know your yield entirely, including what you have consumed. It is good to know. And if you could also monetize it, so that you know how much money has it saved you. Or if I was to sell it, how much money would I have? And from it, it is important. Yes.
Even what you have given out.
Even what you've given out, yes, sure. I remember in the villages when we were growing up, when it is a season for beans, and they are ready, and my mother would know that so-and-so has a not yet ready. Every day she would collect a batch, take to so-and-so, take to the other one, and when the others also yield, it is the same. There was that kind of exchange. I don't know whether it is still happening in the village. Even when they slaughter a goat or a cow, they can sell off some, but also a lot goes into giving. So it is important for your production records to know your yield. You remember under production records, we mentioned the yield. You know, it informs you a lot. You look at what you've earned. And you can even make a decision that if I had not given out so much, I would have broken even. But I've not been able to break even because I gave out so much. So next season, you know how to style up. You know I can give up to this. We are not saying don't give, but you're giving with an informed point of view. Okay. So making decisions. We are saying the results of the income and expenses will inform the farmer to form a basis for making decisions for the future. And this will be derived from answers to the following questions. Because they will ask you, how do I make decisions? Of course, you cannot determine the decisions they will make. But pose these questions and many more questions that may come. Which enterprise is profitable? And therefore, I continue dealing with it according to your books. Which one is more profitable? Which enterprise is performing poorly? And therefore, I need to discontinue. Which enterprise needs to be expanded? We may have many products on the farm, but you realize there is this particular one item that is just eating the profit away from the rest. It could be a traditional crop that you really feel you have to do it. You may not stop, but you may say, I only do a little of this for my home consumption. Which component of expenses need to be reduced? You now go into the expense ledger. How should the profit made be invested and where? Remember that when you make profits, but you're not informed generally about your farm, you're not sure where to invest this profit. But if your ledgers have shown you where it is profitable, where it is not profitable, you just know that if I expand this, even when you're picking a loan from a financial institution, you're very sure where you want to invest it in order to be able to pay back. What new equipment does the enterprise require? Are you using some equipment? Sometimes they are comparing. As they say, using human labor. It is labor intensive, but they can be thorough. Using a tractor, it may not be thorough. Then someone else will come and say, but you know the people are slow. I may delay on the planting. So that comparison. Have you been able to compare a season when you used a tractor and when you used labor mkono kwa mkono? Then what is the level of technology that is required in my farm? These days we cannot run away from technology. A lot of things have changed. It may be at that small level, but you need it somehow to boost the production and all that. So briefly, that is how this content flows. And I think it is good that we do take it up, be able to continue talking to our members who are farmers, and so that they make farming a business. It is a business, but people are not treating it as a business. People think for me to treat it as a business, I need this huge farm, but even in the small farm where you are, you're already making transactions, business transactions with the farm that you need to handle very, very carefully. I want us to end here. If there are any questions, Robert, I'm not able to view the online participants. If they have any questions, kindly retrieve them for us so that we can respond to them as well. Yes. Any question? As he does.
Thanks, Flavia, for this wonderful presentation. I have two, but one is just a general inquiry. Are we going to share this content with us?
Yes.
Then two, could you be having like a specific record about dairy farming? Like maybe how it is categorized in different districts, which district produces so many quantities of milk, that classification.
Okay.
Milk production.
We do not have it readily available, but that is information we can retrieve. If it is in your interest, we can retrieve that and share with you. The content, yes, we are going to share with the entire list that registered for this training. Our call on you is that you use this information. Let the staff use this information. We have so many opportunities interacting with our members. When we do this, we shall make our appraisal process, monitoring process, much easier when people have records. Do we have any questions in the chat?
There's one from Morris. Morris is wondering, he's saying that most of the smallholder farmers are illiterate. They can't even write. How can they be supported to be able to record this kind of information?
Practically make it very simple, and they will record through their children, their grandchildren, or friends. Yeah. But the bottom line is it should be very simple in an exercise book. And for us as financial institutions staff, you may find someone has their records, and you will be able to support them to come up with a financial statement for as long as their daily, weekly, monthly transactions have been recorded. You speak into the microphone.
Okay, so I was saying that most of the information I'm seeing here through the chat are mainly comments, apart from what Morris posed. The others are mainly looking at, like Mugisha is saying, that we need records for accessing credit from financial institutions. I think that's where we started from. And then I see Kenya, it was saying that we needed to zoom a bit for him to be able to see the presentation. Yeah, mainly those are the keywords that came in.
So thank you so much. We appreciate you, our online participants. Thank you for sparing time to be part of this. I pray that we continue spreading this information. Thank you very much. Also, when you visit the AMFIU training platform, you will find this information on farm record keeping and many other modules, but you could always refer to the platform to refresh yourself, but we are also going to share this presentation. Have a good day. And
I just wanted to remind the participants, especially the online audience, that we shared an evaluation form in the chat. Kindly help us and respond to some of those questions we have put there. Thank you.
Chat. Okay, thank you very much. And to my physical participants, please, you can fill the form. Thank you very much, and have a good day.